Hello, welcome to SpreadingTruthMinistry.com on YouTube, and thank you so much for tuning in. I'm going to be reviewing The Preachers of LA Season 2, Episode 2. Please forgive me for just now making this post. It was a lot to chew on, but here we are. I'm going to start this video or this review slash recap on just two parts. I just want to deal with the Pastor Jay's part and dealing with Justin's situation, the homeless gentleman that's addicted to drugs, and I also want to deal with Bishop Jones, Loretta / the Gibson situation as well. Those are the only two, and I may highlight maybe one other person's situation. Alright, so let's get to it. First, the episode begins with the Haddons. I thought it was cute. The Haddons came together. They went to the park. Not only Haddons and their babies, but they also had their mothers there. And so it was really nice. They talked about the sip and see, what was discussed there. They talked about the issue that Minister Haddon had with Pastor Jay and how it should be resolved. They also talk about the fact that he's very combative. But I thought that was pretty interesting. But everybody was in agreement, and he also said that maybe she should take the high road and whatever. So anyway, I'm sure they're going to be talking soon. We should look for that in the episodes to come. So that pretty much concludes the Haddons. I think later on they were taped singing as a choir or something like that, or as an ensemble or something like that, or whatever. It was funny. But that's pretty much what happened in episode 2 with the Haddons. Next you have Pastor Jay and one of his congregants. They met. She talked to him about this gentleman by the name of Justin, and she indicated that her and her husband, they go and help him as much as they could. They try to go feed him and be nice to him and, try to give him whatever he needs, try to support him through his situation. And so Pastor Jay was definitely interested in meeting him. They tried looking for him in his usual spot. He wasn't there. They eventually found him on the street, literally, well, not literally on the street, but literally on the sidewalk. So he was outdoors, just out of it, just high as a kite, just out on the sidewalk. And of course Pastor Jay was moved with compassion, as he should, because that's deep. You know what I mean? That's deep. And I feel like we should be like Jesus. We should be moved with compassion to the point where we want to do something. He wanted to feed him. He wanted to try to get to the bottom of it and try to give him all the help and support that he needs, because he believes that God is able to bring him out. He believes that God is able to deliver him. Why? Because he himself was a drug addict, and he knows and he remembers what God did for him. So kudos to him for being moved with compassion. And the truth be told, most of us are like a paycheck away from being homeless. Truth be told, some of us are just situations away from being strung out on drugs or alcohol. But God, amen, amen. And when he looked at him, he said, he reminds me so much of myself. And when he talked to his wife, he said, he reminds me so much of our son. That could be our sons, that could be our daughters, but God. So we should be moved with compassion when we see people in situations like that. We shouldn't turn our nose up, or we should be moved to want to do something. So I applaud him for that. He tried to feed him a little something. He tried to talk to him to get down to the bottom of as to why he's where he is, and he indicated that his mother died. He expressed his hurt and pain for that, and that is so painful. And he said he wants to help him, but he really wants him to show that he wants help. And so he invited him to church, and he said, if you come, that lets me know that you're serious and you want to be helped. And so he left that door open. Pastor Jay prepared a message for him to hear, in hope that he would hear and be converted. And so the services began, the message began, and in the midst of the message, while it was being preached, Justin came in just in time to hear the word and receive prayer. And as he received prayer, he kind of fell out, and he basically lost consciousness. And they called 911 because they thought that there was an issue with overdose concerning him, and they didn't want to be liable if he was to die. So they wanted to make sure that he was okay. So they called for the ambulance just to make sure that he was okay. And it pretty much ended. The episode ended with him being carried to the hospital. And we're going to see more of Justin in episode 3. And so kudos to Pastor Jay for wanting to help, and for having that compassion, because there's a lot of other ministries that reach out to people that are basically on the upper level, on the higher, on the socially economic ladder, but he's willing to go down and reach up and reach down and pick people up. So again, I applaud him for that. Next, the Gibsons meet to discuss Yes, the Gibsons meet, or they're at home, and Lady Gibson comes outside. She met, I guess, to meet Bishop Gibson. I guess he has a golf course at his home, I'm not sure, but she came outside. He was golfing at the time, and she discussed with him what happened at the Sip and See, and she told him that Loretta basically went off on her, and she explained why. That it was something that he said during the meeting with the pastors regarding the crusade. And so, he asked her what was said. She explained it to the best of her ability, and he said that she's making a whole lot of assumptions, and he didn't say that. Some of those words were twisted, and he talked about the word assume, and he broke it down to mean that the word assume means you make a donkey out of me, and you make a donkey out of you. And so you know how he is. And so she's like, be nice, and you know what, we should try to work this out, because I'm kind of tired of talking about this situation. Let's try to meet, let's try to iron this out so that we can move forward with the crusade. So they both agreed. They contacted Bishop Jones and Sister Loretta to meet with them, and they agreed to meet with them as well. And so Bishop Jones and Sister Loretta, they talk about the meeting, or what's going to happen at the meeting, and they kind of, I guess, get their minds prepared. They get mentally prepared for what they will discuss with the Gibsons. And so during that conversation, Bishop Jones decides that he wants to encourage Sister Loretta to go hard on Ron if he decides to get into their business. And so wrong move. Wrong move. And so not good. Anyway, they meet. Okay, in the meeting, it begins cordial, of course, and they begin to talk a little bit about Sister Loretta's qualifications, and the fact that she has 20 years experience in assisting in this capacity for the ministry, and that she's more than capable of handling the job. And so that might have eased them a bit, but that wasn't the concern. The concern for the Gibsons is they wanted to know their relationship status. And so they wanted to know if they were in fornication. They wanted to know if they were doing something inappropriate, because they were adamant, like, until we know this, we can't move forward. And so they talk about it. They're asking questions. What is your status? Yada yada yada. And so they're responding. At first they're dancing around the issue, especially Bishop Jones, and then finally he says, well, no, we're just friends, no, this and that and the third. And so Bishop Gibson goes on and he begins to say, no ringy, no dingy. He begins to encourage her, if he's not going to give you a ring, don't you give him no ding. And he begins to say, you know what, you don't want the Bible, you want Babel. And he goes on to say, you know what, this fornication, something's going on, she's too beautiful, you can't be around her, not resist her, something's wrong, I don't agree with it. So he feels that there's something more than they're admitting to. And so Bishop Jones goes on to say, the Bible does talk about busybodies and other men's matters, and he goes on to say, so they're going back and forth. And so Lady Gibson chimes in and she says, listen, we really don't want to know your business, but we're concerned about your witness. And then she goes on to say, we're also concerned about our reputation and our witness, and we don't want to taint it, because if there is something inappropriate going on, we can't support you and this relationship. And so, of course, Loretta is extremely defensive. Of course, she's extremely upset because she's almost the brunt of the conversation. She's being spoken to in a negative manner, and she's and she's very, like I said, her guards are very up, and she's going in based on the instruction that Bishop Jones gave. So she's going in, so she feels like, listen, it's none of your business. And so Bishop Gibson begins to go in and he begins to drop the J word. He begins to call her Jezebel, and she's controlling Bishop Jones, and she's, acting like a Jezebel, and this is unacceptable. And then he goes on to say, you'll never get the brother. He said, I'm a prophet. You'll never get the brother. He goes in on her, and she's hurt. She's upset. She's livid. And she begins to drop the S-bomb, and she goes, boop, I'm supposed to be a lay person, and y'all, da-da-da-da. So she goes in on them, and Bishop Gibson's like, listen, if you're going to be disrespectful, we're especially not going to be a part of this. And it pretty much ends there. Later, Bishop Jones and Loretta get together, and they're playing pool, and they're discussing, wow, that went left. And they're discussing, regardless of what, and Bishop Jones is like, listen, we need Bishop Gibson on board. The gifts that he has with reaching out to gang members and such, and his experience will be very useful in this crusade. We don't want to do it without him. And she's like, well, he don't have to be a part of it. And he's like, listen, you know, this is what you need to do. You need to get everybody on board. You need to get the ladies on board, because we need to move forward and we need him involved. And so, you know, it kind of ended there. Here's my thing. I feel like, again, that Sister Loretta's getting the brunt of it. I feel like that Bishop Jones should be held accountable, because, again, he's the one encouraging her to go in on them, on the Gibsons. And I feel like that he's throwing a rock and hiding his hand. I feel like that he's putting her on the front line, and she's taking all the hits, and it's just an unfair fight. Bishop Gibson is an OG. Like, seriously, he's like hardcore. Like, why would you even position somebody that you care about in that situation? I think they should have led with the humility. You know, even if they didn't want to discuss the particulars of their relationship, they had every right not to. Bishop Jones is not under Bishop Gibson. He doesn't have to submit to his authority. But at the same time, if they're going to work together, the Gibsons have to be comfortable. So listen, we can have this conversation, and if you want to, I would rather not have this thing on camera, but we can have this discussion. I just let you know you have nothing to worry about. You know, our relationship is a friend, and whatever happened in the past is really none of anybody's business. You know, we are friends and only friends, and that's where it is, and this is where it is, period, and point blank. If you feel uncomfortable with that, I respect that, but we're going to move forward. You know what I'm saying? So, and I feel like with the Gibsons, like I said, they have a right to protect their reputation and their witness, but at the same time, you can't make people confess something that they don't want to confess. They have every right to not confess. You know what I mean? So you have to respect them and their decision, and you make the decision that's right for you, and you stand on the word, and you know, you don't have to, you know. But like I said, honestly, I feel like that they're being way too hard on Sister Loretta. I think the brunt of it is on her and not on Bishop Jones. And the truth of the matter is, she's not a Jezebel, and she's not controlling Bishop Jones, but Bishop Jones is controlling her. Okay? He's the one that's dictating. He's the one throwing the rock and hiding his hand. He's the one that's, you know, behind the scenes holding strings. Okay, so I'm sure the Gibsons see now, hindsight is being 20/20, but at the same time, again, that goes to show that you're making a lot of assumptions too, and it's a lot of assumptions on both ends, and I think we need to be a little bit more objective when dealing with the matter. And with Loretta, I honestly feel like if there's something more, because of course there was a special right after that, I believe that was aired, I saw that over the weekend, and she was kind of expressing that if he ever asked her, that she would do it. Like, in order to be like mentally prepared for that, you have to have a lot of love for somebody. So honestly, I said that from the beginning, that she loved him and she does want more, and it's clear that she did, and she finally admitted it. So I feel like that if he's not able to give her what she wants, he should just leave her alone, and she should just count her losses, because almost 17 years is a lot of time to be dealing with one person and getting emotionally tied up and getting businesses tied up and building a family and a relationship, and you have no hope for nothing more. That's just too much. My prayer is for Sister Loretta. My God. Because at this point, if Bishop Jones can't do the right thing, then you got to keep it moving, sis. And Bishop Jones going to have to decide. You know what I mean? And the Gibsons are going to just have to respect wherever they're at in their situation and let God handle it. That's all they can do. And my prayers are for Justin. God bless you. Thank you so much for listening. Please subscribe and like this video and or make a comment. Thank you so much for your time, and God bless. Until next time. Shalom.